So if there's one thing we all know, it's that retail never stands still. Customer expectations keep rising, channels keep multiplying, and technology keeps evolving. But the real question is, how do you manage expectations and how do you keep pace without compromise? So that's what you're about to hear in a very, very exclusive keynote. I'm delighted to welcome to the stage our co-CEO and CTO, John Williams.
So I want to start with just one word, and that word is imagine. Because if you think about it, imagination is the starting point for all the big breakthroughs. And in our industry, we can often get very bogged down around the technology itself, whether it's the new AI models, whether it's the data, whether it's the platform. But actually, if you think about it, it's not that that's important. It's how you imagine you will use those platforms and how you will use that technology. And we are on the forefront of a massive shift that's bigger than the internet. And what we're going to understand is, like, how do we imagine our future? What are we going to imagine that we're going to do with this technology? We could imagine this, that there's one AI to rule them all, that machines are running everything, and as humans we have nothing left to do, no goals, no purpose, or that there is a couple of big organizations that actually hold the wealth of the world, all of those kind of things. And in that world, efficiency is driving everything. And it's actually something that it could very well happen, right? And we're seeing this all the time. As prices are rising, efficiency is the drive for everything. Efficiency is the key thing that most businesses, including retailers, are looking at right now. And when it comes to Amplience, it's not actually a theory to us. We've been working already with generative AI in lots of scenarios within the content supply chain. And we've been working to improve things like product descriptions, content generation, and we've seen in the order of 40% uplift. And when it comes to actually Black Friday, we're delivering something like 1.2 million requests per second. And that's real enterprise scale. That's AI at enterprise scale. But is efficiency enough? Well, if you think about it, it's not really about the machines that are important. What we believe in Amplience is that real business success is driven by the people. And it's the people that really help to scale the businesses. So efficiency is really not enough. If you only focus on efficiency, you're going to have some real problems. And actually, what really is important is innovation. And if innovation in the long term will win. If you only focus on efficiency, you'll fall behind. And if you only focus on optimization, you'll lose in the long run. And innovation is incredibly important right now for business success, right? You've got channels appearing all of the time. And now we've got ChatGPT allowing you to do transactions. Gen Z and Gen Alpha are rewriting the whole book on expectation. And then technology is shifting from under our feet to there. And if you focus, like I say, if you focus on efficiency, efficiency is just not going to be enough and you will lose in the long run. But what do we really need? What do we need in this new world? What we need are tools that help businesses with AI. We need tools that people can use today to help them innovate, to help them test, and help them optimize. But those tools can't be in the hands of just the technologists. They can't be just the engineers and the developers. They have to be in the hands of the business. It's really important that the business takes control. And for us, nothing has changed. We've always, from day one, been focused on building great tools to generate great content to help sell products digitally. And our vision has never changed. It's always been content at the speed of ideas. And if some of you guys may have been around on our journey, way back when I started the company with James Brooke, we started and we launched interactive merchandising. It was one of the first CMSs that allowed you to do really interesting things with interactive media. And then we launched dynamic media. And dynamic media took the burden away from creating content variants, image variants, and dynamically generating billions of variants every single day, right? Meaning faster product pages, better SEO, higher conversion. And in 2018, we launched the dynamic content, one of the first CMS, headless CMSs, directly and specialist around e-commerce. And it helped content operations become more agile, more efficient, and purely omni-channel. And what we're doing is we're taking all of that learning that we've done over the last 16 years of e-commerce. We've got 16 years of content production and AI. And today I want to actually introduce you to something new. Amplience has taken the next step when it comes to AI. And we call that Amplience Workforce. And Workforce is going to be the first AI content platform integrated into CMS and DAM, specifically for e-commerce. So before we get into the details of the product, this is what most people would like or they think their content supply chain looks like, when in fact, it looks something a little bit more like this, right? I know it's inefficient, it's slow, and it's really, really difficult to scale. And it's basically built with out-of-date processes, legacy tools, complex design applications. There's too many emails, too many spreadsheets, too many tickets, and maybe some of you guys have got a sprinkling of project management software on top of that as well, right? But what does that mean? Well, it actually means that you've got miscommunication, you've got rework, and you've got errors, and it's slow. The other thing is you'll have, in the content supply chain, every team has a piece of the puzzle. But those pieces get stuck within the system. And when they get stuck within the system, you get teams that are overloaded, and then you get teams that are idle because the flow of content is just not flowing through the system. So you're probably sick of hearing this, right? But is AI the solution? Is AI actually the solution to these problems, right? And I would say yes. Obviously, I'm up on the stage talking about AI, so I'd say yes, but only if it's done right. And I thought I'd pull together something that I use a lot when I'm talking to everybody out there in the world. And this is a simple business sort of chart, right? A 2x2 diagram that you would often see in a business school. And it's got two dimensions. How human is the work? How human is the work versus how AI-driven is the work? You know, how much is it a task versus a workflow? And a task could be writing a blog, removing the background out of an image, etc., right? Or translating a piece of copy. Whereas a workflow is a series of tasks, approvals, and steps that allow you to have a repeatable outcome. And at the beginning, we were all about here, right? Everything's human-driven, everything's manual, and they're all supported by systems like CMS, DAM, and PIM, okay? And then we had ChatGPT, assistants, co-pilots, chatbots, etc., right, appeared on stage. And this is where we kind of ended up. And it's allowed people to generate content far more quickly than they've done before, right? It's a really useful tool. But the problem is you don't just need any content. You need content that is in your brand tone of voice. It speaks like you. It talks about your products the way it should talk about your products and talk to your customers and your audience the way it needs to talk to, right? You can't just have any content. And accuracy matters, right? It's not just funny or a bit awkward. If you get it wrong, you can lose the trust of your customers. And what's a really interesting fact for me that I found since I've been out in the meeting everybody in lots of different locations is the tolerance for AI errors is far less than the tolerance for human error. So imagine something better, imagine something else where you could actually have a system that was built for commerce, that you could create your content that was always on brand. It was always in the right tone of voice. It had all of the latest frontier models so that you didn't have to do all of that work, that you could speak to your customers and deliver content specifically for e-commerce out of the box. Well, I'd like to introduce you to Workforce Studio. And Workforce Studio sits on the Workforce platform, and it's built on our award-winning content studio that we released a couple of years ago. It allows you to basically create all of the things that you need in terms of use cases that are critical for your business, like buying guides, product descriptions, etc. You can put in your brand tone of voice. It even has what we call transcreation, so it will actually create content based on a brief. It doesn't just translate the words directly. And what that means is that your content is always on point. It's not just accurate to the language, it actually feels authentic, and it's to the actual market that you're in. So that's really great, right? So you've got some efficiencies around creating and producing content, but you don't really get the pure efficiencies until you start tackling the workflow elements of that, right? And a lot of retailers are stuck in this particular place. They've integrated ChatGPT APIs and made that kind of, put the ChatGPT APIs in there. They've added a bit of NAN to do some workflows. But what happens is that all of the code that you had, all those prompts that you had as a business, when you're a business user and you're enjoying yourself, getting the content to come out, are now locked away in code. Every time you want to make a change, you've got to kind of go over and ask an engineer. And what was simple now becomes extremely complicated, right? And what happens is that the business and the technologists start to drift apart. And that becomes a problem because you've got the engineers in one world and the business people in the other world. But imagine something a bit different. Imagine if you could take what we've just shown you with the Workforce Studio, and then we applied our Mac and headless heritage to that so that you could actually have the benefit of both worlds. So you could have your business users creating great content, designing it, testing it, running and innovating, but also the simplicity for your developers to actually integrate that into your content supply chain. And that's exactly what we've done. We want to introduce you to Amplient's Workforce One, which basically is an automation layer for the content studio. So what you can do with Workforce One is you can actually choose where the stress points are within your content supply chain. Go use the content studio to try it out and play with those stress points and get it and tune it exactly how you want it. And then a developer can take that and integrate it into whichever system you need within that supply chain, whether it's directly into our DAM, into our CMS, or into a PIM, or wherever you need it. And this is an example of kind of a content supply chain that we've modeled with lots of different API calls. And what do we see from this? We see a 40% improvement, up to a 40% improvement within a content supply chain by using this approach. This is one of my favorite customers. I went out in the Middle East. I spent ages with their content teams, working with them on improving their supply chain. So they made improvements of around 30% on product descriptions, which they were generating 2 languages. And they basically moved their efficiency from an 80% or 83% from a human-driven process to a 94% within an AI-driven process. And that's all really good, right? That's great. Now we've got 40% efficiency, and you can start today. And I would recommend that you go out and see some demos and try it out and think about where you might be able to apply that kind of thinking. But that only takes you so far, right? You've still got the same content supply chain you had before. You've still got the processes that you had before. And those processes were built back in the day when it was all manual. and they were built with the tools you had back then. So they're still slow and they're still inefficient. And if you think about it, if you move into the new world and you move towards agentic, which is where many people are going to solve these problems, the problem is that many businesses look at what they've got right now and then they just replicate exactly what the content supply chain they had before, step by step, in code, and using developers. And what can happen is that you basically get the same results because you're basically just re-implementing the same thing. It's just a different technology. In that world, once you've built it with the technologists, it becomes a test, build, release cycle like the old days, right? You guys will have been out there, remember what it was like with e-commerce. It becomes like that. But if you can't release the product fast enough, you can't get your content out fast enough, and you can't change things fast enough, then you can't adapt. And if you can't adapt, you just can't compete, right? So imagine if instead of using developers to create agents, instead of making it this whole technical project, imagine if as a business user, you had something that you could build your content supply chain yourself. You could actually do it yourself. You can pick agents, connectors, and tools, and then build a supply chain without any code, without any wiring, but also flexible enough for people to actually build their own connectors with their developers, and you can reuse everything that you already have. And that's what we're releasing pre-peak. So if you look at Shane, she's the product owner on that, and you should go out and have a look at a demo of that. What is Flows, right? What is Workforce Flows? Workforce Flows is actually this really simple, intuitive interface that as a business user, you can just pretty much drag and drop agents and connectors and tools onto a canvas and simply snap them together without any effort, and you can completely design your content supply chain. You can create as many flows as you want, you can test as many flows as you want and run them at scale. What's really, really cool about this is that you're in full control. So unlike many other technical platforms, we built human in the loop in from day one. You can drag in a human review stage at any point within that flow. And as soon as it reaches that review, it will not move forward, it will pause until someone has actually did the review and approved it and moved on. In terms of agents, there are obviously content generation agents. There are agents that do research. You could basically go, before you create a content or before you look at an image, take the input and then research it on the internet and direct it at your site, your competitor's site, or your supplier's site. Or you can use other connectors to go and research that within your organization. There are agents that can classify images, that can classify products, that will do validation, enforce your brand tone of voice, make sure that your content is contextual to your customer. And we have, day one, we have tools that help you with things like auto-cropping, background removal, shadows, etc. All of those out of the box, day one. And it doesn't stop there. We are building connectors from day one that will allow you to connect to every single system within your content supply chain, whether that's a PIM, e-commerce platform, CDP, search engines, SEO platforms, etc. All of these will be ready for you day one. And well, I'm really proud to say that actually we'll be the first content platform that will have a complete Q-Business integration, an AWS Q-Business integration. What does that mean? It means that you can securely access all of your data and your knowledge from with your enterprise and plug it directly into your content supply chain. So some Amazon guys out here today, go and ask them about Q-Business. Not only can we do all of those things with elements you'll see coming out of the platform out of the box, you can also get your developers to create your own connectors and your own actions. So Workforce Flows will be not just demystifying AI, it will allow you to design it, it will allow you to test it, it will allow you to run it and actually deploy it at scale within your organizations. But this is not just, this forum is not just about one big product, right? A launch of a product. it's about something bigger. Every now and then, technology makes a leap, right? And we're in one of those stages. And when it makes a leap, the world moves with it. When I was younger, in the 80s, you can tell that I have no hair, we went through a revolution, which was the digital revolution, right? And we went from dials, knobs, to digital screens. And eventually we ended up with the internet in our pocket, right? But if you think about it back then, you would never have thought to do a video call, especially with someone halfway across the world, on your phone while you're walking through New York City. And that digital technology has actually achieved that today. And we're on the cusp of a new revolution I call the digital to cognitive revolution. It's where systems start to think, and they start to make decisions. And they make decisions based on your intent and the goal. And just like the digital revolution, it will change everything, right? How we work, how we play, how we live, and how we shop. And just as the digital revolution changed jobs, so will this revolution. I mean, who would have thought that back then that there would have been an e-commerce director, an e-commerce merchandiser, or even a programmer, right? All those jobs appeared through the digital revolution. We're going to go through something similar with the cognitive revolution as well. Given all of that, what we believe in Amplience is that actually it's not technology that ultimately scales a business. It's the people within the business. It's the people that actually scale your business. It's their ideas. It's their ingenuity and their imagination that really makes the difference and helps to scale the business. And that's why we've actually built Workforce the way we built it. That's why we built Workforce as a platform to work with people, not with the developers underneath it. I'm a developer, we are people, but we really are. But we've made it to work with the people who are actually on the front line of the business teams to turn them into decision makers and help them do their jobs more effectively. And that's why we built the Workforce platform. And that's what we've been about. Now, some of you guys out there will have been going, John, that was a 2x2. What about the other quadrant, right? What about the bottom quadrant? Well, for me, that's where it gets really, really, really exciting. And it's where things move to a pure agentic. So just imagine a CMS where from a single brief, it can create an entire campaign, right? And it's so intuitive that even a child could use it. Imagine giving our CMS an instruction that goes, Black Friday did really well last year. Could you do it again, the same content? But this year, cats are really not doing it. Dogs are the thing. Can we replace it with dogs? And we want to basically have a promotion that goes 5, 7, 8% instead of what we had last year. And the CMS will basically take that brief. It'll find the content. It'll make the copyright changes. It will change the pricing in the banners. It will change the images. It'll generate new images or replace a cat with a dog, whatever you want. It'll alter the video. It will schedule it, put it where it needs, all ready for review, so you can interact with it and then review that content. But not only that, what if it could do it in 47 different locales where there's 20 segments in each, and it all does it in minutes? That's the future that we see in Amplience, and that's where we're going. And it brings us back to content at the speed of ideas, because for us, it's people, your people, that matter, and we want to amplify them like never before. So thank you.